Jason here. I'm in Charlestown, West Virginia, and just want to do a little bit of history digging. Not much, not too in depth, just some interesting stuff around here. Now, Charles Washington, brother of George, he created this town with the lot on that corner, which is the post office, the lot over there, this lot right here, which the courthouse sits on, and then that lot over there, which Washington Hall sits on. He created this town. He sold off other lots around the town here, but his thing was I believe he gave those lots away to help create the town of Charlestown. And if they were ever to be used for anything else, they were to be given back to his family, and obviously they weren't, because we have the town of Charlestown. This is Washington Hall. This is not the original structure. I think the original one exploded during the Civil War when they were storing munitions in there. And it's been, I think, other fire damages, etc. have happened over the years. It just recently got rebuilt again, and now there's a bunch of restaurants and nice stuff in there. So if you ever are in Charlestown, come on up and visit. That's actually an old fire hall. You can tell how large the entrance is, and that's where they used to hang the hoses. I don't know what they're doing with it anymore. It used to be the Charlestown Historical Center, where you could go. Oh, by the way, can you see? Can you see? It's Masonic! It's Masonic. Which most structures are around here. Sheriff's Building. Judicial Center. As you can see, they're getting all the Christmas decorations up. I'll show you the front of the courthouse here in a little bit. But we'll just start our tour. Charles Washington's town. But this town is almost as old as the United States, laid out on 80 acres of Washington lands in 1786. 4 years before the first president took office, Charles Washington, youngest of 5 brothers of the general, spent most of his life as a successful businessman in Fredericksburg, Virginia. In the fall of 1780, 42-year-old Charles moved here, bringing his family west of the Blue Ridge and building a new log home he called Happy Retreat, on lands he had inherited at the death of his half-brother, Lawrence. Brother George was a frequent guest. When Charles petitioned the General Assembly of Virginia to incorporate his new town in 1786, he donated 4 lots here at the center to be available for town and county buildings. Although Charles Washington died shortly before today's Jefferson County was established, his public lots grew to be the hub for business and government for a county he accurately forecast would grow and prosper. That is the only known portrait of Charles. I think a little bit better looking than George. Here we are at the courthouse, Jefferson County Courthouse, the site of John Brown's trial, which only took 45 minutes for the jury to decide. And over here, what we're looking at straight ahead is the post office, but that was the original grounds of the jail. And here's a view of Washington Street. I know it's hard with the glare. The building on the left, the very left, is the county jail. And then the building here on the right is the Charles Washington Hall. Here's another picture of it back in the heyday. In 1845, John Frederick Blessing opened a confectionery shop at this location, right here on the corner. When John Brown was captured and brought to the Jefferson County Jail in Charlestown, Blessing brought food to Brown from his shop and showed Brown other kind attentions. As a result, Blessing's friendship, John gave Blessing his Bible on the day he was hanged. During the Civil War, Blessing was a commissary sergeant in the Stonewall Brigade. The Episcopal Lecture Room. In 1884, this building was purchased by Zion Episcopal Church for use as a meeting room. According to tradition, John Wilkes Booth entertained here with readings from Shakespeare. Booth was with the Richmond Greys, who had come to Charlestown to provide security during John Brown's trial and execution. Other things that I've read is that during that time of the trial that he became very popular with the locals with his readings and stuff, that they actually came here lined up. The windows were open at times so they could hear him talk, and they would stand around this house and listen to him. From 1738 to 1799, Charles Washington, founder of Charlestown. From this one-room office, Charles Washington, brother of George, sold lots in the city of Charlestown, which he founded in 1786. So this little building basically was his real estate office. Martin R. Delany, free African American, born 1812 in Charlestown, died 1885. Ability to read forced family to move to Pennsylvania in 1822. Studied medicine and attended Harvard in 1850. Published Mystery, first black newspaper west of the Alleghenies, 1843 to 47, and co-edited North Star with Frederick Douglass to promote and aid abolitionist cause. He was a commander major, highest ranking African American field officer in the Union Army in 1865. Here is more on Martin Robinson Delany. The reason why this is here is obviously that he was born in Charlestown, but there is no really distinctive spot where, but his grandmother did own property, I think, in this area here, or somewheres around on this corner. So obviously why they put it here, and that's the most obvious place where they think he was born. Here is a little bit more in depth, the placard. I'll read it to you. Martin Robinson Delany was born in Charlestown, Virginia on May 6, 1812. His mother, Patty Peace, was a free black woman. She married an enslaved man from Berkeley County named Samuel Delany. They had 5 children, and Martin was the youngest. During that time, there was a law in Virginia that prohibited blacks from learning to read and write. Patty Delany broke that law by trading some material that she had to a peddler for a book. The name of the book was the New York Primer, or Premier, and Spelling Book. She used that book to teach her children to read and write. For fear of being arrested and having her children taken away from her, Patty Delany left Charlestown in 1823 and moved to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Samuel Delany later purchased his freedom and joined his family in Chambersburg. Martin Robinson Delany went on to become, among other things, a medical doctor, editor, author, and explorer. During the Civil War, Delany met with the President Abraham Lincoln. Delany told President Lincoln of his plan to recruit black troops commanded by black officers to go south and fight. President Lincoln accepted this plan and sent a note to Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, advising Stanton to meet with Delany. Do not fail to have an interview with this most extraordinary and intelligent black man, A. Lincoln. As a result of meeting with Lincoln and Stanton, Delany received a commission as a major in the United States Colored Troops, making him at the time the highest-ranking black officer. Following his military service, Delany returned to his home in Wilberforce, Ohio, where he resumed his medical practice. Dr. and Major Martin Robinson Delany died in Wilberforce, Ohio on January 24, 1885. Pretty powerful man. Pretty powerful. What a story. I'm in the Jefferson County Museum, and everything from Native American artifacts up through the Washington family, all the way up through current times, Civil War, etc., is in here. Very, very cool. This is an actual letter written to Colonel Burgess Ball from George Washington in reference to receiving a letter of the death of his brother Charles Washington. You can see like this one was made in the mid-19th century, Martinsburg. Copper kettle. Conrad Schindler of Shepherdstown, circa 1840. Pottery. And even some of the silver was made locally. Charlestown. Silversmith. This was a local company who produced locks. And this is the Independent Fire Company. The corner of Washington and George Streets. And this is Washington Hall. This would have been the jail over here. That would at least, I don't know if it was 1884, but in 1859, this is where the jail that was used for John Brown, where he stayed in there. Here's all the stuff talking about the local mining of iron ore in the area, and the old process of extracting, and some of the stuff's made from it. The byproduct, which have found some of this stuff along the river, just below the Shenandoah furnace. It's been a historical day here in Charlestown. In other words, I bumped around a bunch of different places, just reading up on things, looking at stuff, videoing a few things. Nothing really die hard on one particular subject, but just some of the historical areas, and then spent some time in the Jefferson County Museum for probably about the last hour and a half, looking at stuff. So hopefully you liked it. I like these days, they're cool. I love reading all this history stuff and talking to people. Jason is over here. Please like and subscribe.